so then we can talk with them too. But we, in that under that review, you could like leave some questions. I asked a lot of people to do that, and we got a ton of questions, so we want to go over them right here. I'm joined by Joyce. Hello, Joyce.
Hello, what's up?
And by Dennis as well. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, everybody.
And we are we
Are we?
Ready to do this show. Thanks everyone for joining. Great to see everyone being here in the chat as well. And I think it's good because people already kind of know my feelings overall on the game, to kind of throw it to you as well. Joyce, why don't you start with how far you are into the game and what are you thinking of it so far?
Ooh, I guess I'm near what I played during the demo, with the demo in London. For people who are currently watching don't know, I was in London for a special Spidey 2 event a couple weeks ago to play a demo, and that's where I am now. I think that's halfway through with, if I have to be spoiler, for if you guys remember what the demo
I think you're midway
was
through the game. That's,
yeah.
I think, an easy way to say it.
Yeah, because I got distracted by side activities and what they added to photo mode and, new suits and everything. So yeah, overall, if I had to put it in one sentence, I think it would be something like this. I never expected to play a Spider-Man 2 game like this. And here's why. There are some elements in this game that I just did not expect to find in a Spider-Man 2 game, and especially from Insomniac. Like, some parts really surprised me. To not go full into spoiler mode, it just, from some other games, there are some like narrative moments, like really bonding with characters, for example, to not only have action moments like blockbuster movie kind of moments, but also just a little bit, slow paced, get to know all the characters, all the new ones, all returning ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of Peter and Miles like behind the mask stories as well, especially early on. Yeah, that's nice.
And I really like that because it gives a little bit more behind the scenes of what their lives are currently about, because it's, I think, 10 months after Miles Morales.
Was that's
yes.
Right.
Yeah, so I really
You're liking it.
yeah, I'm liking it. I'm really liking so far. Want to resume playing tonight.
Yeah.
So hopefully get time for that.
And of course, I want to thank Sony as well for giving us an early code so we could do this review discussion here and of course have the content ready, because just before launch we will be able to give you some spoiler-free tips and tricks, talk about the suits and all that good stuff. Thanks everyone for joining here. A gaming player already asked a question as well. So we're mostly like doing questions from the comments under my review that people left there. And if you got like a question in the chat, we might bring it up as well. But I want to like give members like Gaming Player 23, like some priority here. But first, Dennis, you just like me finished the game. What are your overall thoughts on it?
And, I think. Sorry, I interrupted you. Please continue.
No, don't worry about it. Go.
I think we are kind of in the same boat. Because at the end of the day, I feel like the story, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't for me. I found a lot of parts to be, I don't know if I can say this without getting into spoilers, so I'm not going to say it, but there are things that make the story less appealing than the ones in Miles Morales and the first Spider-Man game, to me. Then again, I think, like with you, it's very much a personal preference kind of thing, because I feel like a lot of people are actually raving about the story, and I definitely echo Joyce's sentiment as well, is that they do take enough time to like not be blockbuster action all the way. There are smaller moments with like just the characters, like either reliving memories or other stuff like behind the mask. You get to know Miles and Peter as well, not just the Spider-Man. So that is very well done, but at the end, like the main story, I don't know, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it either, but I didn't love it. And then apart from that, they've made some changes to like open world activities and stuff like that. And I feel like some of them are for the better and some of them are, I'm still on the fence about. There are changes that feel to me like they removed depth and streamlined things where they didn't necessarily have to. So now you are missing depth but the system might have been streamlined a bit, so it is easier to access, but it didn't really need that, in my opinion, in the first place.
But Dennis, you sound very very low on the game, but that was also like kind of the. It is like, I don't want to give away, because that is a very easy trap to fall into. Obviously we come into this game expecting the absolute best, and I think on many levels, personally, it did hit that for me. It is just that you get hung up on the things that you might not like because you were expecting maybe a bit more. So from what I hear right now, it sounds like you liked it, but are also like not a huge fan. But I think it's not that way, right? You're just kind of hung up on some of the things you maybe didn't
like. For sure. Like, overall, again, I feel like we are in the same boat, where I feel like we have some personal problem, or not personal problem sounds heavy, but there are some things that we don't like about the game, but that don't necessarily ruin the experience for other people. And I feel like overall, if you are looking for like an epic open world, very cinematic experience, it doesn't really get much better than this. And one thing I also think that, and that's of course true for the previous Spidey games as well, but this one especially, I think one of the things that open world games sort of miss out on is making traversal fun. And I think like flying around on a broom in Hogwarts Legacy reminded everyone how much more enjoyable an open world is if getting from point A to point B is more fun. And I mean, obviously the previous Spidey's already nailed that, but in this one, it's even more, where you can just I can get into a flow and just swing around New York City for like 10, 15 minutes without doing anything, just because I'm having fun with the traversal. So that is one very big plus to the game. But yeah, overall, you're right. I think it is a very good game. Like the quality, like the polish and stuff like that, we don't need to discuss those. Those are all excellent. Music is great. Voice acting is great. But yeah, like you also said in the review, story didn't necessarily hit, and there are some gameplay changes that I'm sure we'll get into later in the review as well, that I don't know how to feel about them. It's not that I actively dislike them, but it's also that I don't actively like it. But again, we'll probably get some of those in a bit.
Yeah, I already see the chat kind of go crazy. We of course want to get it spoiler free, and I will, the moment I see someone like spoil it, I will like push it to members only again. So that's why I started like that. But yeah, we have some quick questions that I want to like quickly answer, so people in the chat feel like they that we have like some questions from them as well, while we will mostly be focusing on questions that we actually put or that were actually put in the review comments. Like Sven the Man is like hyped for the game. That's awesome to see. What would you rate Spider-Man 2 in the rating out of 10? I think that's like a nice one to end our sort of overall impressions feeling a bit. I think personally I would rate it an I mean, if we do like just numbers out of 10, I would say, and it kind of hurts to say, but I would say 8 out of 10 for me. And yeah, for you, Joyce, so far?
Ooh, so far I'm putting it into a 9 because I'm just enjoying my time. I mean, maybe I'm biased.
No, you're not. I think I was actually in the same boat. It was just more the sort of like final moments that were not really for me, but I do think a lot of other people will like them. So that did influence my score.
I will get back to you once I get to that part.
Yeah. And you, Dennis?
I think an 8 as well, which, by the way, it's not terrible. Actually, 8 is just a great game. Yeah. It's like on a scale of 1 to 10. Now people get panicked because they want their masterpiece game to have like a 9 at least. So an 8 sounds like it's a tragedy. But an 8 is just a sign of a really good game. But to me, it's like I wish they would have done more, and that's exactly how I feel. Like, it's a great game. I personally wish they would have done more in some aspects, but it is definitely, like, when you compare it to the rest of the games that came out this year, it is up there. It is very good.
And it is an easy recommendation, I think. Like, even
oh yeah, for sure. The barrier to entry is very low. It's not difficult to get into and start having fun, and it's also something that appeals to a lot of people, I think.
And there's like a recap in front of the game, so if you're not caught up with if you played Spider-Man 1 but you haven't played Miles Morales, then you get an easy overview of what has been going on. And
Yeah, that's kind of nice, and you hear like new VO for Peter and Miles as well, kind of talk you over it, which kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I want to like go to this question from Gaming Player 23. I hope there are some enemy bases and that you can replay them and fight waves of enemies. Now the enemy bases are back. We of course know that Kraven is coming to New York. He's bringing a lot of hunters with him. So you have like the hunter bases that you can do, which are kind of similar to the previous bases, although they made them way more interesting. So instead of having waves of enemies, you now like they can still get reinforcements. But you have ways to actually tweak that and actually, like, kind of make the base less valuable or less strong. So you first go to hunter blinds, kind of get some intel on these bases where they actually are. And then by going to the bases, you have, like, multiple objectives. And one of them is destroying or, like, actually hacking the communication device. So then, yeah, they cannot call reinforcements, which will make the base way more manageable. And the enemies are also in multiple sort of areas inside the base. So even if you like have done some combat in one area, it might be that the other like location has not been alerted yet, so they can still go back to stealth and stuff, which I think is kind of cool. But you cannot replay them, sadly. It's just a one-time thing, and there is like an ultimate difficulty that you unlock after finishing the story, so you can just play the whole game again with like this way higher difficulty. Right now, like at the start of the game, there are the regular 4 difficulties. So like very easy, normal, and hard. And ultimate is then an unlock at the end of the game. I personally am waiting for like New Game Plus. We know it's coming. It's not in the game yet. But then I think going for ultimate would be more fun, because there are a lot of suits later on in the game that you unlock and then can only use for like 10 minutes or so. Like, there's just nothing else to do anymore. And
except crimes. Crimes are kind of replayable. Because,
cool.
They appear on the map.
Yeah. But at some point, there's like, apart from just having fun with the combat, there's a point where doing crimes isn't really serving any purpose anymore, because you just have everything.
Just take pictures in photo mode.
It is cool though.
For sure.
It is cool though that the crimes were first part of the district sort of completion rate, but now they're completely separate, and that means that even if you have completed the district, you will still see crimes pop up every now and then.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So you can. There was also a problem with the previous game. Like at one point, I think all the crimes would be solved, or so, like there was nothing really to do. Right now, you can still play with all the upgrades, but there's nothing, like no meaningful reward for it or anything. So I hope that answered your question, Gaming.
And it's just the best part, you already pointed this out in the review, but the fact that the other Spider-Man could show up and you could team up and then, solving the crimes and going into combat, just the two of them. It's so satisfying and so fun. Like, they just talk to each other, and then in the end, you can even do like this interaction between them, just like a high five or like a hug, or even, should we tell that? Or should we keep that?
I think that's already someone else already posted that.
Yeah,
so that's
but we don't have to.
Info, but we don't have to.
No, but there are many interactions that you could do, but I think that's one of the best parts of like going into a crime and be like, oh, will Miles show up as well? Will he already be there? That would be really cool.
Have any of you seen Peter though? Like when playing as Miles? Maybe that's a
Not
better question
yet.
for you.
I think
Dennis.
so.
Okay.
I think so, but don't pin me on that.
Because
I feel like I have.
Because it feels like Miles, and that really fits the story as well. We don't want to get really into the story, but yeah, you kind of know the start of the game where Miles is trying to like go to this university and has to write his essay. But instead of like writing that, he's like delaying that over and over again, and wants to be, is going to be Spider-Man like way more often. So it makes sense for him to help you with crimes more than Peter, who is like busy with a lot of other stuff, which I think is kind of funny. And I'm not sure if they thought of that way. But it seems that in the footage that I've seen, it's mostly Miles that is helping other people.
He's delaying his essay writing. Like, no, oh, do you have something for me, Peter? I gotta go.
Okay, so keep the questions in the chat coming. We might get to that, but I think it's good to like talk about some questions that people left in the comments. And we want to go to some like story questions, like still not spoil anything, of course, but still some people are curious. Like if this game was split into 3 acts, how would you rate them? So like that's a question. I personally, if I would know that before playing, would be less fun for me. Some people want to know that. We want to do that at the end of the stream. So if you don't want to like hear anything about the story, you still have time to like get away. And yeah, so that's kind of how we want to do it. And now we want to focus like on the combat. So are there new finishers when fighting? I saw that many finishers are the exact same of the previous one. Peter should have his own specific takedowns, and Miles as well. Is that in the game? And this from Pedro Ribeiro. Dennis, am I pronouncing that correctly?
I think so. I think so. That sounds like a name.
Okay.
Pedro Ribeiro. Yeah.
About the finishers, do you want to talk about that, Dennis?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the question is if there are any new ones, or if they're all just like replacement, or not replacements, but recycled from the previous game. And it's a mix of both. There are some old and familiar finishers, but there are also some new animations, of course, because the Spider-Man also have new powers. So there are some new finishing moves that involve Miles's new blue lightning. And there are some finishing moves, if I remember correctly, that are new that involves Peter's spider arms. And yeah, so it's
for the
a mix
Venom
of
abilities,
both.
of course, for the symbiote ability.
Yeah. You'll especially see those a lot when you use the new like the symbiote superpower, the symbiote surge, which is very cool. That will trigger a lot of the like finishing animations with like tendrils coming out of you grabbing an enemy. So again, it's a mix-up. There are some old animations that are familiar, but there are also some new ones. And I think there are a lot of them, because I was recording footage today to get a specific one, and it took me a very long time to get that specific one because so many others kept getting into the mix. So that should give you a sign as to how many there are.
Oh, sorry?
No. That was it.
Yeah. So I think they actually did a great job, because it would actually kind of suck if they did not use the older ones. Like now we just have to mix, and sometimes I even am like, was that a new one, or did we already have that before? But what is cool is that there are certain enemies that also have specific takedowns. So if you like use that takedown against that particular enemy, there's like a really cool, unique animation. And seeing those for the first time is always like, I mean, the takedowns are one of my favorite part of the game, but especially those that you can do with other characters. We won't tell you which character. Like there are questions about it. I saw someone in the chat ask, can you tell me if it's like new heroes or other people, or we will not talk about that. It's cooler if you figure that out for yourself. But yeah, when you like go do a crime with Miles or like with the other Spider-Man, you will and then do a takedown. High chance, like you will still do solo takedowns, but high chance that Miles or Peter will join you and they can do a cool combo together. And seeing those for the first time, especially for those newer characters, I was like, whoa! I was like constantly like, oh my god, this looks amazing. It's like, yeah, it's really, really cool.
I had that too.
And that kind of like slows down near the end. So I was hoping for more of that. But it is like one of the coolest features. And we talked about it before, Dennis and I in particular, like with God of War Ragnarok. And it's kind of interesting how all these Sony games are kind of doing the same thing in a way, where they're introducing like a lot of companions for your main character. Like in God of War Ragnarok, we saw that of course as well, where first like all the trailers, most trailers were like, oh, is it gonna be Kratos and Atreus all the time? And then when you start playing, you immediately notice, wait, there's way more going on. I suddenly have the square button is for a different character, and not on the same level, but Spider-Man toys around with that as well. And we know Insomniac is working on a multiplayer game. I would not be surprised if they are already laying the groundwork. I mean, if you really think about it, also looking at the suits in this game, there are a lot of suits that they made available post-launch in Spider-Man Remastered or in the 2018 game or in the Miles game, that they now brought forward to Spider-Man 2, and they count them as the suits that you have in the game. Really, because we're of course doing the suits video as well. That was when I like really was like sitting down. Okay, what are the suits in this game? And then you see there are maybe 30 new ones or something, and the rest is all from the previous games, which is fine. There are colorways now, so even though they bring the old ones forward, in most cases, they still can look different. And I'm happy that some favorites from the previous games are, of course, back. But it does show you that the work they've done for these older games are usable later on as well. Like, obviously, the tech they used for Spider-Man Remastered, for Miles Morales in terms of the PS5, they're now using with Spider-Man 2, etc., etc. So I would not be surprised if the animations, the attacks, the takedowns, whatever they're using now for Spider-Man 2 could be used for a multiplayer game in the future. And having basically 2 Spider-Man that you switch between during this game, already they are like equal, right, in this game, even though Peter is a bit more advanced. And I do think that I think both are like as strong as Miles. Miles, of course, has the camouflage, so for stealth, Miles is obviously the better pick. But yeah, you do see that in a co-op game, this could totally work. Like with God of War, I'm like, Kratos is gonna like beat everyone, right? So they would have to make some balancing changes there. But yeah, I think it could be really cool. And yeah, it makes sense that they're using stuff or doing stuff now that could be used in the future. We see that a lot of the Sony games.
I mean, even move it to the Wolverine game that they're working on, like some things that they like added to Spider-Man 2, maybe because it's like in the same it's going to be in the same universe. I think they're going to use some combat, or maybe even with the suits. I'm just pointing things out there that they're going to like move that to the Wolverine game, because a lot of people have been moved on from Spider-Man 2 to Wolverine. So maybe even add it to that.
Yeah,
some
sure.
learnings.
I mean, I would not be surprised if the photo mode, for example, is the exact same. Like simple stuff like that. But yeah, maybe
I don't mind at all. Like what they did now, I'm not going too much into this because I can talk about that for hours. But what they done now, perfect. Enough. Add something to it. But for now, I think it's they did a lovely job just adding some tiny little new things to it. But it was already really well done, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they'll add that to Wolverine as well.
Let's move on to more questions. I see some things. Can you run down walls? I mean, just like walk up wall. That was already possible in the previous games as well. So yeah.
You can still walk up onto buildings.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have Vivek. Thanks for joining us always. With double the map size, are activities really less? I saw someone actually talk about it. So it is interesting, right? Double the map size, the game is the same length. But I saw some people talk about it as well, and that's easy to forget when you're really used to this PS5 sort of console now, where there's just no downtime in this game. And you for one swing faster, the web wings are faster, there are no load times, you can fast travel and pick a point on the map if you've like made enough progress in the district, immediately go there.
That is just wild, by the way. The first time I did that, I was like,
yeah, it's really
cool. That's
sort
fast.
of give you an idea of how fast you are now, because I think that's, even if you don't use fast travel, which I didn't, but fast travel is of course insanely quick, so that even lowers your downtime. But even when you don't, if you use one of those new super slingshots, which are like certain spots in the map where you can use 2 webs to like pull yourself back and then launch yourself, like you make a catapult and you are the Rock. One
I'm gonna
shot
show
of
it
that
now. I got footage of that.
Cool. Thank you.
In the performance.
This is live improvised PowerPoint presentation, everyone. But the cool thing is, like, if you find one on a high rooftop and you shoot yourself, you can probably like shoot yourself in the distance of like crossing Central Park, which I think is a part of the main map that people will probably remember. Cross that length in a couple of seconds. And of course, you lose speed, but the first speed boost you get from one of those slingshots is insane. So those really help you get around quicker. The web wings and the wind tunnels help you get around quicker. So I don't know the exact like activity count, but the map doesn't feel bigger. It just feels more varied. But that is mostly because you are so much quicker. It's not that it feels like a small map. It's just you are moving much faster now. So of course they have to upgrade the map size.
And then we walk up on the wall. So yeah, that is right. But it is. I was mostly like not in terms of like world size, but more in terms of like this is a sequel. They can now go crazy, and they mostly put those resources in making the main story missions even crazier in terms of spectacle and set pieces. But I personally had wished that they would use those resources as well to, give us a bit more, sort of like, instead of teasing us for what is next. Like, I wish there was like more in this game. I really felt that, for example, finishing God of War Ragnarok, okay, they're done with the Norse saga. Maybe we get a Atreus game, I think we will, but they're done with the Norse saga. They've told everything, that's it. And with this game, it feels like, wait for the next issue, right? It's like very that comic booky style, and there's just a lot of that.
I mean, can you blame them? Because it's kind of,
Yeah, but they can do that while still ending some stuff. Like, they can still do that after the main story, and then all the side content in the game is not something that we have to figure out later on. But you still have to get to that part. But
I know.
maybe you will agree. Let's see some non-spoiler questions in the chat real quick. Let's see. Any Venom suits? I mean, Venom is like prominently featured, so totally expect some Venom suits. Are there any plans for DLC for the game? Like after playing it? I hope so. Otherwise, we have to wait 3-5 years for some of the things that they're teasing.
I mean, I asked during that interview playing the demo, and they couldn't say anything about it.
Yeah, but they did not say no, so that makes me hopeful. And I think they announced that they're doing some like suits for like athletes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's weird.
They had some ones that are inspired by famous people. So I think there was one that was inspired by a singer or artist. One was inspired by F1 driver Lando Norris.
Are you for real?
I'm not even joking.
Yeah, they're
we get an orange McLaren
we
suit.
got this as well. We got this as well.
Yeah, but it's play the F1 intro.
Yeah.
No, but that is of course cool that they are adding new suits post launch, because I feel like
makes me
maybe
hopeful there's more.
Yeah, maybe getting a bit ahead, but I could have done with a couple of more suits, especially like new unique ones. No, okay, maybe
really?
I need to take that back. I need to take that back. I felt a little bit disappointed in the suit selection, but that's because of how well we were treated in the previous games. Because it feels weird having to unlock all of the things that you like either already unlocked in the previous game, or, and I think that's the main thing, the MCU suits that we got for free as they were added post-launch, you now need to unlock, and that feels weird. So I do like the fact that they are still adding post-launch suits, because, again, you're very, very kindly corrected me, there are a lot of suits in the game, and I don't want people to think that the selection is disappointing because there aren't enough of them. There are too many.
I'm editing the video now, after this I'm going to continue. It's gonna be a big one.
With all the suits.
Yeah, but there are many returning ones as well, so I do appreciate them also adding new ones post-launch.
And that actually makes the Miles suits more exciting, because there are not a lot of MCU suits, obviously, movie suits for Miles. So that actually made sure that they had to go and make actual cool suits, or look at like other cool comic suits for Miles. While for Peter, they were like, everyone wants those MCU suits, so the max level suit, it's an MCU suit that you already had in Spider-Man Remastered in 2018. Like, or I think it was not in 2018, but in Remastered.
I think, question for you two. When was the moment when you found a suit for Miles? Let's pick Miles, and you would never take it off? Like, was it mid-game, near the end, in the beginning? I just wonder, because for me it was near the beginning. Actually, there was this one suit where I was like, okay, this is a suit I really like, and I'm never gonna take off.
Yeah, but that kind of comes back to my my point in the review, and I can show you that part. And we get some donations there as well. Appreciate it. We will get to those in a second. I'm gonna show that part so we can actually like talk a bit about the suits here. Of course, like, if you haven't watched my review yet, totally do so, because, that goes way more in depth than everything we're talking about here, obviously. But, like, that was kind of my issue with the suits overall, is that you would find, like, a cool early game suit, and then there was no reason to unlock other suits, like, because you could just use the one that you really liked already, and then spend the resources on actual gameplay bonuses, because the game is more challenging now with the parry mechanic and the other stuff you have to worry about. And what you really notice, and that's what I, in one hand, really like, you really notice if you spend more points into damage, that you deal way more damage. And that makes the game so much more manageable, because early on in the game, if you don't spend your resources right, you will have some trouble for sure against the enemies. And knowing that, and then actually seeing a suit that I could unlock, I was like, okay, but I'm perfectly fine with the suit that I'm like currently wearing. I'm gonna spend the points in damage again because I know that actually gives me what I want, and that is more damage. But there were some exceptions, obviously, when you would see like a cool Miles suit. I was like, I need to get that one. Like the one that I also quickly showed you here, like the 2020 suit that in Miles you had to do like the Peter sort of activities.
That one is great.
Yeah, so that one is back, and when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I have to get that. I love that one. So you make some exceptions, but then still, like I said in the review, at the end I only unlocked 4 suits per character, but there are 34. So
yeah, you can still see the silhouettes again for some suits. Like later on, if you go through the menu, you can see like silhouettes for like special outfits or anything.
Yeah.
So that's also made me curious for a couple.
We have Psych clips here with a $2 donation. Appreciate that. Is Mysterio in the game as a villain? You will have to figure that out for yourself. We have K-Dot Sanctum, or SSJ K-Dot Sanctum.
This is my favorite question.
Does Venom use the 19 inches for evil or for good?
With great 19 inches comes great responsibility.
I get the collection edition should arrive any moment. I'm hyped for the 19 inches of Venom. That's of course where that it's based on. It's
what if we told you though that the game potentially has more than 19 inches of Venom? What
my lord, guys!
Should we just leave it at that?
Yeah. But what do you think? What do you think? Look up. We can like look up a picture of Venom and tell me if that's evil or good.
That's profiling.
I appreciate the donation. Appreciate the donation. This is a question maybe any one of you knows. Small Vilva, I hope I pronounced it right, is asking non-spoiler question. Can Peter do the ceiling takedowns like Miles could in Miles Morales? Stealth takedowns.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure you can, because there's also like a tutorial that you have to do it.
Yeah. Where that they show all the possible things. So basically,
yes, exactly.
Both characters are basically the same.
I love the stealth takedowns for Miles. If I have to compare them, I think Peter also has one. If you get like go behind a character, like behind someone's back and then do a stealth takedown. Miles has some really funny ones. I don't think there are new ones. I think they're like.
I feel like stealth with like apart from the addition of the web lines, which are great. I feel like stealth hasn't changed that much. Because they shifted it more. It's not mandatory for gameplay either, because you see it with the hunter bases as well, where you can go in stealthy and do those optional objectives and make the rest of the fight easier, but you don't have to. And I feel like a lot of main story missions as well, you can use stealth, but you don't have to. With the exception of the MJ parts, which I feel like where they expanded a lot more upon it, and it also feels much better to play.
Of course, you also have the new webline feature for the Spider-Man.
That's what I said. That's the new addition for stealth. But other than that, I don't think they changed much, right?
No, I mean, not really. If I think about it,
I mean, I love because I just played a lot of Mirage and then doing the Spider-Man sort of stealth, and just the fact that you see if a character is like safe to take down, it's just such a good feeling to know. Okay, I don't have to worry about like alerting anyone else.
I think there's even like one of the suit tech upgrades that allows you to also see which enemy is looking at the enemy you're trying to take out. Make it even easier for yourself. So you can see, okay, if I make this guy look the other way, then this one is safe for a takedown.
Yeah.
I think it's even, isn't that like a suit pair? Like you have to pick between two?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, I noticed, yeah.
We have L State asking, gotta know if there's New Game Plus. Not at launch. There is the ultimate difficulty that you unlock after finishing the main story, but New Game Plus is coming later, similar to the first Spider-Man. And I'm happy about that, because if I had to like replay the game for the Platinum Trophy, I mean, I would not be like that sad about it, but on the other hand, I prefer a non-New Game Plus, or like a non-New Game Plus trophy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's move on to some more questions. We got the donations there, so thanks for those. And let's look at some other things. Staying with combat real quick. Are the robot arms optional to use in combat? Can you not use them? That's from Peter 11 Thank Man. They are optional when you reach a high or like a late enough point. So at the start of the game, Peter, of course, does not have the symbiote powers yet. So then your abilities will be robot arm or like the spider arm related. And then later on, you will unlock the symbiote powers. And then you can choose, do I want to use the symbiote powers or the robot arm powers? Spider arm. Robot arm is throwing me off. But yeah. So they are optional. But like at a certain point in the game. At the start, you have to use them. Although you cannot use them, but that would be stupid. That would be really
without
stupid.
activities, but then you are really handicapping yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
But also, in the beginning, you'll probably notice that your ability cooldowns are pretty lengthy. So it's not like you are constantly fighting with the spider arms coming out of your back. It's like 1 or 2 powerful attacks to take out a big group of enemies, or like a brute or something. And then for the rest of the fight, you were just using fisticuffs.
Yeah, and we actually got some gameplay here from Dennis in the performance mode.
Don't look at that. That's probably terrible.
It's good. No, it's great. It's with the spider arm, so we can like talk more about the combat while this clip is playing. So let's see how many symbiote suits are in the game. Watch our all suits video. When I don't think we can like talk about that.
I'm working on it, but expect it soon.
Yeah, we cannot like talk about that yet. Dennis, can you do the next question, because I'm like showing gameplay and I can do.
Yeah, sure. There was one that I can touch on really quickly, because I did actually try this out. That was dropped in chat by CJ. So thank you, CJ, for the donation as well. Who asked, does reduced steering assistance in the accessibility menu make a big difference? Is it actually completely normal physics based? I was looking through the settings for a different video, and I noticed there were some steering assist things, which I know a lot of people were hyped for, because that would make it less easier. I did try it out a bit for fun, and what I found mostly is that like steering when you are mid-swing is much more difficult without the assist enabled. I think it's like fully enabled by default, so if you want to disable the assist, you have to go into the menus and change it.
Yeah.
But what it basically does is when you are swinging on a line, maybe this is placebo, maybe this is what it's actually doing, but it feels like there is more weight to the person hanging from the line, so you actually see it stretch a bit more as well. And basically, normally you would be able to, like, if you were swinging, you would be able to super easily, like, swing around the corner or something. The less assist you allow, the more difficult that becomes, because it's pretty much just when you are mid-swing, it's very difficult to change the trajectory. So that does make it more skillful, but I still feel like there are a lot of new things to try out with the assist enabled, like getting used to the web wings and stuff like that. But yeah, you do definitely notice a difference, though I haven't exactly like nailed down what the difference is. So try it out for yourself. So that's one, and then I assume we can probably...
I see people ask about the finishers again. We already talked a bit about it during the stream, but the short answer is there are new finishers. They also brought forward all the old ones, and they're like switching between those. So basically you will not see the same finisher often, but there will totally be some that you will see. And there are a lot of new finishers with other characters, including the 2 Spider-Man together. And some enemies have exclusive, unique finishers too that are very, very cool. Yeah. Sorry, Joyce, what did you want to say?
No, I was agreeing with you. Like, there are many cool finishers, like, especially the duo ones between Miles and Peter. I love them. Like,
and
I really
between other characters. Can't wait for people to see those.
Spoiler! We're not saying anything.
I was happy when I saw those.
Yeah. Next one we can kind of quickly answer. Can the low frame rate for the Spider-Verse suit be turned off? Yes, it can. In fact, there's a bit more to it than that. No, it's not that exciting. We could talk about that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Basically, the first Spider-Verse suit you unlock will allow you to pick the option to change to either the regular frame rate of the game that you're playing, so it's either 30 or 60, whether you're playing on fidelity or performance, or to switch to the frames per second of the Spider-Verse movies, which I'm not sure from the top of my head how many frames that is, but it's very delayed, much more comic book looking. So you can turn that on and off for any suit after you unlock your first Spider-Verse suit. And then you can also add or remove the comic books kapow and boom effects that show up when you hit an enemy. So that's basically because they of course removed suit and suit mods, which is kind of big. You don't have the ability to mod a power from a suit into a different suit. So now it's just you access it through the menu, and then you can turn it on and off, and then you can do it for every suit. But you have to unlock a Spider-Verse suit first.
Yes. You will get a notification saying, "Hey, you also unlocked this and this in the options menu." I think you find it at visuals. I think if you go to the options menu and then go to visuals, then go scroll down a bit, you'll find the options there.
Yeah. So the game will tell you when you unlock it, but don't worry if you don't have it unlocked from the start. It's supposed to be like that.
It's similar to Miles Morales, basically, because there you had to unlock the suit mod, and then you could also...
And then you could apply it to different suits, right?
So it's basically the same. Yeah.
I think Spider-Man 1 also had a suit mod that had the comic effect. The kapow one. Yeah. So that's now...
Not the frame rate, I think.
No.
No. No, I don't think so.
I mean, but I'm
Desi B. Desi has a donation, $2. Is the main story open ending, happy or sad?
I don't know. I haven't finished the game yet.
Joyce, answer this. No, we don't want to answer this. Sorry, man. I appreciate the donation and everything, but that's not a fun answer or question to answer. We want to go a bit into story questions near the end of the stream. Then I will have a quick spoiler warning, or we won't do spoilers, but we will. Some people one question is this game was split into 3 acts, which it totally is. How would you rank them? And then we can kind of talk more a bit about that. I personally would not like to know things like that, so I won't talk about it immediately right here. So let's go through some more gameplay focused questions, like the activities. Are the activities like the outpost and enemy bases replayable? We already talked about that. Golden Beast wants to know it. Sadly, no. Only the crimes are. They are unlimited, which is cool.
Yes.
Can we script the puzzles and quick time events in this game in the original? So you cannot skip them, right? But you can make them easier.
You can.
You can actually skip them as well.
And you can also make them easier. Quick time events you can't make easier. Quick time events you can just auto-complete or turn it on that the game auto-completes them for you.
Yeah.
But puzzles you can by entering the pause menu you can just say skip puzzle and the game will be if you really want to, but you can't come back to it after you auto-finish it. And then if you say I don't care, it will just auto-complete the puzzle. But you were right, there's also an option to make them easier, and in general I would say, maybe this is because I'm misremembering things, but it feels like there are a lot less of them in Spidey 2 than there were in Spidey 1. And they also, because in Spidey 1 you had to do the
science puzzles.
The science puzzles
where you had to do 4 or 5 back to back.
Yeah.
And after doing the tutorial, I don't think there were more than 2 puzzles back to back in a main or a side activity.
Yeah.
So they feel less intrusive. So you can skip them, but I felt I never felt the need to skip one because they were a nice diversion when they were
the final one for Peter, the science puzzle. I had to struggle a bit on that.
I was just about to say there's one exception. That's the one.
I was like, how can I force myself trial and error this? But I made it work. I completed it. I was happy.
I'm actually quite proud of you that you figured out how to do that puzzle before you figured out that you could skip it.
Yeah.
That is...
I'm a real one.
I have a nice addition to the puzzles because I noticed something while scrolling through the options menu. Because for some games, I think it was for God of War Ragnarok, people were complaining that when with a puzzle, eventually Atreus or Kratos would say maybe I should do this and this and this. There is an option in the menu that is turned off, but you can actually turn on hints in game to get people to say oh, maybe I should do this and this and this, but you can turn it on and off. And I was like, Thank you, Insomniac. That's actually a great addition to people who complained about it in Ragnarok.
Please, Guerrilla Games, are you writing? Are you
Are you writing this down?
Yeah, of course Horizon had it as well, where Aloy would just be out loud, maybe I need to do this.
Yeah, and people were complaining about it. I mean, I personally didn't really have a problem with it, because some puzzles were really like, but
in God of War, it was like you did not even reach the puzzle, and Atreus was always like, "What if we do this and then this and then this and then this?" And then you're like, "Dude, can I like look for 1 second at what I'm supposed to do here?"
Yeah, but like there is an option in the menu if you do need some help getting hints for puzzles. There you can turn that on, but it's off by default.
Yeah, there are some like it's worth it to check some of the settings. We have a video about that as well, but. To point
even
you
fall
in that
damage
direction.
to turn off.
I'm never gonna turn on fall damage. I would have like died way too many times in this game. So I'm happy that I didn't do it.
You can still kind of live the experience of falling painfully if you do like the air tricks and then hit the ground, because that will still play like the smack on your face animation, although it won't actually do any health damage. So
we got some donations here again, so thanks a lot for the support. Junaid is saying
I think you pronounced it right the first
nice.
time. I think it's Junaid.
Can you please talk about suit damage? And that's actually something that we are including in the suit video. But I'm gonna look at one footage of mine in particular in the performance mode as well, where I was like, wow, this is insane, because there are like some weather things that impact, or like some story things that impact your suit. Really impressive. But also, if you just continue to wear a suit over the course of the game, some suits have more damage, it feels like, than others. But I was like, whoa, I can't even, like, you really see like Peter's skin or Miles' skin. It's really impressive.
The tear and wear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool. So it's way like they of course toyed around with it in the first game, where you had that classic suit as the damaged version and the regular version. But
true.
Now it is like implemented. I think in Miles was it as well, or I might be mistaken. But I think they.
No, I think so, because I think someone commented about that as well.
Yeah. So, but now it's even better. It feels like, at least.
Yeah.
There was even, I don't know, in one cutscene, I had like Miles and Peter, and they both had damaged suits, and I was just like, oh, that looks so cool, and I wish that would stay forever. Like switch on and off. I actually would like that.
Yeah, but I think there are multiple levels to it. So it's like a slightly damaged, a bit damaged, like very damaged. So there are like multiple levels to it, at least. It seems like that. I'm gonna look at what I was. I'm gonna like look at my footage. Because at one point I was like wearing that Iron Spider suit.
Oh.
And then I really saw... which, like, just as Dennis mentioned, like, we of course saw that. I think it was like an earlier unlock in the first Spider-Man game than in Spider-Man 2. Which is kind of funny.
You mean
armor? No, the suit.
MCU.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm close to it. Close to the footage.
We're looking in our
but yeah,
footage.
we can talk about other things. Here, I think I have it.
You have it?
Yeah, but we can like talk about other stuff. We have like another donation here from Tess. I know the Spider-Man question only, but are you hoping for some GTA 5 news? Thanks for the 5 here.
Six.
Six.
Sorry.
Yeah.
5's been out for a bit.
Always.
No. You're right. There are rumors that it might be obviously in October. I don't know. I hope so. It would be time. If it's launching next year and there are many things pointing in that direction, then it might be. I'm gonna do it like this, otherwise I might reveal some things.
We have some other questions.
Yeah. Should I grab another one while you look for the footage? So one thing, this kind of loops back to what I was talking to, but someone asked this about how many gadgets there are in the game. And hold on to your butts, people, because this might come as a shock if you played the previous one. They changed the gadget system, so there are now, apart from your regular web shooters, there are 4 available gadgets. The reason for that because it seems like a big downgrade compared to how many did you have in like the first game?
Ooh,
8?
we had a couple.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. It's basically a full wheel. So
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, we had a full gadget wheel. I think
I feel
8
like
and
it's
8.
either six or 8, but you have more. The reason for that is because the gadget wheel is now also gone. Instead, you shoot your regular, like your web shots with R1, and then by holding R1 and pressing one of the face buttons, so say for instance square, you activate one of your gadgets. So access to it is much quicker, but there is less variety because you have less different options. And also, I'm pretty sure most, if not all, of the gadgets are new additions, or at least they changed something to make them different.
I mean, you get your web
But-
shooters again. That's
Yeah,
a
of
gadget you
course.
can choose, and ooh,
But like the web grabber is something new, right?
web grabber is new.
That's
Yes, and
that's
the
my
upshot as
favorite
well.
addition for the entire game. The web grabber.
The web
is
grabber, yeah.
awesome. Oh my god, that thing is so good.
The final upgrade that you can we talk about that? Like about the final upgrades, or should we keep that on the
For
wraps?
the web grabber.
Do we have? Do we still have your? Like the gadget upgrades?
yeah.
Yeah.
We
Sure.
can talk about those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Dennis, take it away. Like, what the final upgrade? I think it's a really nice addition, but like, what does it add to the web grabber?
I think the first one is actually more fun because that just
the
adds
first one
complete
already.
chaos. So to explain, the web grabber is a gadget you shoot, and then it shoots out web lines and draws enemies to a single point. So it's very good for crowd control. There are some abilities in the game that heavily benefit you from having lots of enemies together. So it's super good for that. But then the second upgrade, when you fire it, it also pulls in nearby throwable objects from the environment that then crash into and damage enemies. So it immediately changes everything to complete chaos because you are pulling in barrels, you are pulling in like bricks from the environment to smash into enemies. And then the final upgrade Joyce was alluding to, the gadget itself stays behind, so you can also then throw it. So it's super versatile, and that I also think that it might be lost in the there's only 4 gadgets now. There are a lot of, or not a lot of, but there are some like alternate uses for gadgets that kind of make them feel like 2 in 1. There's another one that's a very good example of that, where you can use it in combat to like blow enemies back, but it also has a secondary use for stealth, which is very nice. So. Yeah, overall, gadget system has been revamped. There are less gadgets, but they are much more easily accessible. I think the new ones are awesome. And yeah, this is one of those things I kind of don't know how to feel about it. I didn't use gadgets that much in the previous game, so I can't really say that I missed them. But I was actually looking back at some Spidey 1 gameplay because I was looking through previous videos where I saw you're doing a lot of gadget work. I was like, wow, this looks awesome. I should have used this playstyle. Maybe I'm going to use it a little bit more in the next one. And then it's not really... I mean, you can still use a lot of gadgets, but they feel more like an extension of your moveset rather than like having a playstyle that is solely dependent on gadgets.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I understand.
Again, they are really cool though. And I'm pretty sure that they are all new, but I don't pin me on that. I kind of feel like I need to look up the list for the previous game now. But anyway, so that was a question. Also, DJ Kennycan asked us, do I have to worry about skill points? Are they shared, or do we have to pick one character to specialize in? So the first part of that question, or well, the second part, I guess. Joyce, how do skill points work?
So the skill, hold on, I need to put so the skill system is indeed shared. So you get when you level up, you do get a skill point. However, it's not a skill point that you get for Miles or Peter specifically. You get it for both, because you now have 3 different skill trees. You have one for Miles, you have one for Peter, and for both. And that kind of means that, you know, there are some moves that they can both pull off. So you really have to you can get all the skills, I think, just to verify for the... Yeah, okay. I mean,
by the end, you can unlock everything. So that is already something that I feel like would be a concern to people. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so
it's
don't
just
worry about
which you pick first.
Yeah, but then there's nothing really to do. So
no, so basically strategize. some skills need 1 or 2 skill points, so you need to like save them up a bit. But leveling up in this game goes pretty fast. If you do like a lot of side activities, like the special missions for Miles or for Peter, or you perform some. I mean, performing crimes is kind of.
I would actually go as far as to say that I was sometimes like kind of. Why is there a leveling system in the first place in this game? Because it's kind of weird. Also, because this game takes place 10 months after Miles Morales. Why are both Spider-Man level 1 again?
Yeah, you need to like. I think you mentioned that sometimes you have to unlock some certain skill that they would already have in the previous game.
Yeah, like the weapon yank, that you like steal a weapon from an enemy and then throw them against. Like, it made sense that in 2018 you had to learn that, and then Miles had to learn that again. But why in Spider-Man 2 did they somehow forget that? And I think, I mean, Horizon had that too, although they did include like a lot of the moves from that skill tree in Aloy's moveset from the start. Although it was still weird, like, why did she not have the shield weaver? Like, why? Or, I mean, she did, but it was broken, and they never explain really why. She had like an encounter with like a robot.
Kinda did, but it was it's
very
it
was like a very. I would not be surprised if they were like playing the tutorial and they were like, or like QA tests were like, what happened to the previous game and to the previous like stuff, and then they were like, damn, we have to bring in Ashley to make this line so we can quickly talk about that.
But to get back to the question real quick, like, do I have to pick one character to specialize in? It really depends, because like at the start you can just put a skill point in like, or in both, or in Miles or Peter. I would say, like, eventually, I mean, during my playthrough, I would say that it really depends on which character you pick for the side content, because main story-wise, the game will tell you which character you need to play in order to get through that. But if you have some side activities that you can do with both Spider-Man, you just have to, you just have to pick.
To be fair, we will have like an early things video for this to help you at least in the early parts, because there is, especially early on, I do feel you can make some bad choices. But then at one point, if you've made those good choices, you will be at a certain level where the upgrades you pick after that will still improve your character, but won't matter as much anymore because your baseline is already really good. And I would say it's way smarter to focus on both Spider-Man at the same time, because there will, like, even though you can play some of the side content with both Spider-Man, it's way less than I expected. I really thought, okay, I can do this side mission with both characters and then see how they both react. And there are some parts like that in the game where, for example, the bases, you for example, call Genki, and he will, of course, have a different interaction with Miles than with Peter. So stuff like that is really cool, but I wish there was more of that, because now, if you would replay the game, it's way more similar than I had hoped when you say you have two characters and in open world you can switch between them freely. They still, during some activities, it makes sense. Like, Miles is helping, like, from the Vision College, like, people that...
from Brooklyn.
That he knows. Like, that makes sense. Or that he's, like, more... That Peter is not doing that. But there are some random, like, NPCs that you're helping, and you can only do that with one of the two characters, and that's kind of weird.
Yeah, there was one, I think one for Peter. I do have to say that it made sense for him, but because of spoiler territory, we cannot go into that.
Oh, yeah.
But I do have to agree on some.
I mean, there are a few where it makes sense, but there are also where it doesn't, and then still they're forcing you to play one character, which is kind of weird.
Because I try to, for one side activity, I try to, like, go with the other Spider-Man to that point in the map, and then it still says, you need another Spider-Man for this activity. Switch now. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So that's sadly how it goes. But that is something where the promise of having two Spider-Man in the open world versus how they implemented it, and I think they could have done like a cooler job, because then New Game Plus would be way more exciting. But still, you can do the bases. Like, in terms of like the combat, you can approach that with two characters. Although I would argue, I did not say it in the review because I don't think it's like very fair, but I do think that the characters are so similar that in the end it also does not really matter, because you have 4 abilities and it's kind of the same. So your triangle ability is always a sort of gap closer, so you can get close to the other. The circle ability is always a sort of AoE attack with both Spider-Man. The circle, or like the cross, is always...
Yeah, X will always get you airborne.
Yeah, well, get you airborne, and square is like a punch, or like a sort of like single target attack. And that is kind of with every like with both characters the same. So sure, they do have some tweaks, like obviously using the electricity versus the spider arms or the symbiote powers is different, but it's still like the same sort of format that they used for both characters. So
yeah,
it would have been cooler if there was more, because playing Atreus and Kratos is completely different. So I wish there was, maybe not on that level, but there was more like that.
Yeah, I feel like there are the beginnings of something like that, because it's also something we're going to discuss in one of our videos. But there are certain activities where one character has a bit of an edge over the other. So while you don't need to do it with Miles, it might be better to do it with Miles, because that will make it easier. And I feel like that was such a cool idea, and we only get to see it once. So I feel like if they would have added more stuff like that, it would already feel different. It doesn't have to be that the characters feel different, but that their abilities interact with the world differently as well. And I feel like both of those are missing right now, because I definitely agree with the fact that, sure, the abilities look very different visually, but in function, they are often very similar, if not the same. And apart from that, the gadgets are the same for each Spider-Man. Sure, your suit selection is different, but it's pretty much the abilities and the ultimate ability, which is also then what the entire skill tree for that Spidey kind of resolves around.
Yeah.
There are some cool extra things as well, but they're more like a little bit of spice.
Yeah.
Something that still is very similar.
I want to get to more donation. We got the hidden one. How much percentage bigger is the map compared to the first one? So thanks for the donation. It's like double the size. And the first map is like, if you like Joyce and I, when we were like covering the first game, we had like some secret changes they made to the map. For example, when the first Black Cat DLC was out, they changed the museum. Remember that? Near Central Park. They changed that with an update, so to kind of prepare. So we were like, oh, there's probably going to be something there, because they changed things. And
also with the bar with no name, remember that?
Yeah, some locations, and just going there, it's the exact same. Like the map, there are some like key landmarks that have changed or added or whatever, but overall, that left part, that Manhattan part, is the same. And then Brooklyn and Queens, completely new, and they feel great and have really cool landmarks. I saw something say, Lewis here, you're Loki telling us not to buy the game. No, I totally think everyone watching this, if you're like engaged enough to watch a review discussion for Spider-Man, you will like this game. But I do think that if we get together in a few months, I do think that this game will be less fondly remembered as maybe the first one, and also as some of the other Sony exclusives, because the more you like kind of sit with it, in my experience, the more kind of nitpicky things you have, where like, would have been cooler if they did this. They had so many cool ideas. Would have been cooler if they did this. While playing it, you're like, this is amazing. Obviously, we still have the story parts where, some people will like it, some people won't. I wish they would do some different things. That is kind of subjective, I think. But I do think if we, in a few months or maybe a week already or whatever, because you can finish this game, 25 hours for the platinum took me pretty fast, that you will be like, there was more here, but I'm still happy with what we got. And I still think I could still say to almost everyone, except for people that might be like kind of, I'm not really feeling Marvel anymore. Then I'm like, yeah, maybe skip this. It's not like trying to do a lot of new stuff here.
Well, you know what I had a feeling about, except in the beginning of the game, I had a feeling I was watching one of the old Spider-Man movies, like from way back, like the Amazing Spider-Man and the one with Tobey Maguire. I had that vibe, and I was like, maybe this is better than, nothing against the MCU movies, just for people, but I grew up watching the one with Tobey Maguire and the one like the Amazing Spider-Man movie. So to get that vibe a bit was like, okay, I dig this, but that's personal opinion.
I think, for example, what they really did with the Into the Spider-Verse movies, that kind of shows how they can like toy with your expectations and stuff. And I thought the first game did that a lot as well, and this game just without like, maybe I'm saying already too much, but I think the Into the Spider-Verse shows really has like up the level for what Spider-Man can be. And I first thought, okay, Insomniac is close to that. But this game put them kind of below that on that level for me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because it feels, in most parts, it feels very safe. Again, I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but I feel like if you play the game, you'll understand what I mean. And I also feel like what you said about a couple months later or a couple of weeks later, you'll think of it differently, I think rings very true. And that's, again, not to say that this is a bad game, because it's absolutely not.
No.
But something like God of War Ragnarok really stuck with me. I was still thinking about the events of that game and how those people were changed, and even like things like, what could I learn from that? Like it really kept me going and really kept me thinking. Now I know I'm an idiot and not everyone does that, but the fact that a game can stay with you, and I feel like the same is true for like any good movie or a good book or a good album, like it sticks with you, because even after it's already over, you're like, I'm not sure if I accept that. I don't want it. And I didn't have that feeling with this game. I was like, I just played a very good game. It was very well made, especially, again, I cannot stress this enough, the set pieces are awesome. You will need to pick up your jaw off the floor several times.
You have not done that. I saw some people like Mirage or Spider-Man 2. I would still say Spider-Man 2, because you really see that they went all out with the budget. And playing Mirage and then this game, you're like, whoa, Mirage feels like a side mission, right? And
I think I screamed a couple of times just at my screen, out of laughter, out like happiness, out of anger. I think I cried also a couple of times, that I'm just like, what? Like they really do a good job of putting you in a sense of safety and then hitting you in the feels when you don't expect it. Like, oh, you thought this was a happy game? Turns
especially
out.
With the symbiote, like obviously, it can get dark.
I mean, they already said like this is a darker game than the first one, because of Venom and like the symbiote powers. So, but let's not spoil.
No, let's get some more questions out of the way. We have Dimitri here as well. Recently watched your video on Spider-Man 2. Tell me, how do you like the game in general? Check the review. I talk about it there. Which characters caught your attention? For like favorite character, real quick. Let's real quick think about it. Is that a spoiler? I know my favorite character, but it might be a spoiler, so I'm not gonna say.
I think I know what you're going for. Good pick, by the way.
I may.
I think we can discuss it after the review. I think I know which one you're picking.
Is this one? Oh wait, no, I shouldn't ask this. I'll ask it for after stream.
For me, I really love what they did with Miles this game. It really feels like because after you finish Miles Morales, you're like, all right, he's a superhero now, and then we're gonna pick up the next game, and they're both gonna be working together, which is true, kind of. But Miles still has a lot more of growing to do in the superhero shoes than Peter has, so there is still a lot of room for him to grow. And they do that in a very interesting way in this game. I really love where they went with his story. I really love how it felt like he continued to evolve. Like Miles at the end of this game, I feel like is a different person than he was at the beginning of the game, which is always a good hallmark of like, okay, how much happened? And I think, maybe it was also because I was playing as Miles most of the time. But I really loved his storyline. I really loved the story moments he got here. Also, really love his new powers and his new suit. So
and we can all relate, right? Homework, screw that. I'm gonna do the fun stuff.
I mean, Mom, do you really want me to write that essay while I could be saving 10 people out of the street right now? Like at that point, it becomes an interesting argument.
And that's an interesting segue to the relationship between him and his mom, because for people who finished Miles Morales, you do know how that relationship between them kind of had a certain twist. But I just find it that they became so much closer, and they had like I think even the acting in this one, especially between Miles Morales and his mom, is just top notch.
Really
like
good.
you really feel it.
There's a
so the actress who plays Rio, Rio, you did a really good job. I mean, even all the actors did a pretty good job, but just those scenes specifically hit something inside of me that was like, yeah, Mom, I love you dearly.
That is one of the things I still feel that the game does really well. It's like reminding you that there are people behind the mask. And I feel like it's super easy, especially in a game where it's like you could have it like high action all of the time, but they do take enough time to remind people like, hey, it's not just Spider-Man. There's also Peter Parker. It's not just Spider-Man. There's also Miles Morales. So yeah, definitely. And I feel like in that department too, Miles gets some really touching and good moments that I just love. So yeah, Miles for me, easy pick.
And I saw also someone say the fact that you can ride a bike in this game is already enough for me. And that was also
the moment I was like,
yes, you can.
Okay. So at the start of the stream, I said something like there are some things that were taken from different games. The bike thing was like I was playing a Life is Strange game. Like I was back, like being a little low down. The music that you hear, like in the background, I was like, "Oh, I love Life is Strange." Like I just did not expect to find this in a Spider-Man 2 game. Not complaining though, I loved that part, but it was just like, "Oh, okay, we're doing this now."
I thought it worked really well with making the world for one like feel very big, because that's of course an issue with especially the older games where you're swinging all the time. You're seeing it constantly from high points, so it felt mostly like you were going to Madurodam. Like,
oh my god,
you're for those who don't know.
Exactly. Like Madurodam is like a miniature theme park town-ish
in the
back in the Netherlands. Go visit it; it's fun.
They make like dioramas of like a city, so you get to see the city as if you were a giant walking through or past it, and that's what it feels like to play Spider-Man. But then they put you on a bike, and then you realize you're in New York, and New York is kind of big.
Damn.
Yeah,
I want to do that in real life
really
now.
Cool. Blazing Flame, real quick. I've been asking it for a while. I'm just worried. Is there a Spider-Man 3 going to be 2028? Do you think it will release on PS5 as well as PS6?
I think it will still predictions for that.
If they're gonna do a third game, it's gonna be on PS5 as well, I think. Or maybe like a launch game like Miles, and then do it on both. That's kind of it. Can you use the cape as a glider? I don't think you can. Like
no.
3 suits have a cape, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it is a fun effect though if you use the web wings and you see like the cape like floating behind you. It's like a really superhero, like classic superhero, with a cape. So
this one is interesting. In the cutscenes where the other Spider-Man shows up, so I think during the takedowns, were they wearing the basic costume or what other costume you have assigned? This is Andy Weber with the question.
No, I think also like cutscenes in general, I think most of the time it changes to what suit you have equipped.
Yeah.
But there are some story cutscenes that will default them to a specific suit, and that's mostly because, as you can probably imagine with the black suit, is that there are story reasons why you have to be wearing that suit in that specific moment.
Yeah.
Other than that, I feel like most of it is just whatever suit you have equipped at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because we have like one of those combos right here. But it's still early in the game, because I think the first crime you do always shows the other Spider-Man. I think that's kind of what they did.
Yeah, to sort of introduce you to.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if you see Miles in the open world, if you then, I think he's always wearing the basic suit for me.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Then I might have misremembered.
But maybe with the cutscenes, not. I'm not sure actually.
I'm pretty sure in cutscenes, because they change it to whatever suit you're wearing when you're alone in a cutscene. So I imagine like the earlier scenes of Miles and Peter sitting together, they would then also change those suits to the suits they were wearing. But there is some inconsistency where some cutscenes they're like, no, he has to wear this suit now. So it's a bit of a mix-up, but I feel like most of the time you will see them wearing the suit that you selected.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Bernardo has a very nice donation there. Vitality or performance mode?
That's an excellent question.
So the game defaults it at fidelity mode, and I was like so hyped to play, I just skipped through the settings. So I was like playing in fidelity mode most of the time, and to be honest, I did not even really notice it. And
it's a good fidelity mode.
Yeah,
it's a really good fidelity mode. There are certain sections that we talked about where you play like Peter or Miles and just like walk around at a slow speed anyways, where I think fidelity might actually be the better choice, because Coney Island, for example, the theme park, looks stunning, and in fidelity mode way more so. So there are totally moments, like if you don't mind like switching, I do think it's good. But the moment you obviously go to performance mode for the combat, you cannot go back.
Yeah.
And I do think that you take, more so than in other games, a more significant hit when playing performance mode. It feels in terms of graphics, but if you just start with performance mode, you will not notice it. But I do think that especially the cutscenes and the character models are way better. I think we like briefly showed that actually. Oh no, I think that's both performance, but yeah, especially just the cutscenes and the conversations are in fidelity just way more pretty to look at. But again, you don't know what you miss if you start performance mode.
And performance is also, it's not that looks bad. It still is a very beautiful looking game, especially like the detail in some of the suits is still very much there, even in performance mode. So
yeah,
I think this is a rare case where you can say that both are very viable and very good instead of just one over the other being better.
Yeah, but it's always like if whenever you go performance, you can't really go back in terms of
true
gameplay. I see Rick asking New Game Plus, not yet at launch or later on. Totally, Rick, check out the review as well, because I talk about it there too. Because in the pinned chat comment, you can watch the review, and I would totally recommend that you do that after the stream. I still think we got. Should we just like quickly? Let's see if we can like. I saw some question about the time of day. We got Lee Southall and Leon Gross asking that. And Dennis, I'm not sure if you found this already, but I think it changes depending on the story, and then
yeah, and then after you finish it, it doesn't change anymore.
Yeah,
I think what you can do, however, what I've also found while scrolling through the settings, is you can change the music, because the music also changes, and you can change it to like which act of the story you want the music to play from the open world.
That's
which
pretty cool.
Which is pretty cool, but I don't think actually maybe that will then change the time of day, but I don't think so.
That's funny, because I noticed I was capturing footage today for the yell suits, and I'm at a part where they did indeed like change the music, and I was like, that's interesting. Maybe they did an option in there, so I'm glad that that's actually the case.
Yeah. After completing it, you just can pick whichever one of the versions you want.
That's interesting. Cool.
But yeah, day night, I think it changes based on where you are in the story. Of course, obviously having multiple day and multiple nighttime, so you'll get to see everything more than once throughout that duration. After finishing the story, I think you are stuck on daytime. I haven't found a way to turn it back into night yet.
Which I'm happy, because if it was nighttime, I would have.
Yeah, then we would have been back in Gotham Knights.
Yeah. We have to end the stream soon, though. I also see people ask about swing assist. Dennis already talked about it, but it is in the game. You can turn that on.
And it is a noticeable change, for sure.
Yeah.
So do we want to get to the more spoilery questions then?
Yeah. So like spoilery question, like story things, like some people are curious. For example,
should we first put the spoiler warning so people have time to?
I think we should just not answer them, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Because
I mean, we should keep it spoiler free.
Yeah, and nobody's gonna benefit from these answers. It's just like people that just can't wait anymore. But hey.
But you have to.
You have
and it's
to
not
wait.
that long anymore.
No, it's close before you know it, and then you will be
the
happy
end of the week.
that you don't know these things.
Yeah, that is true.
So
I have to. Yeah. I think people who have avoided the internet still do it. Don't go on Reddit. Don't go on anything else. Just keep
only
it.
Go to JorRaptor.com.
Yeah, and watch our videos.
Watch our videos.
True.
They will be completely spoiler free. And that is
please avoid the leaks. And don't leak yourself, guys, because this game is just better played if you don't know anything. Like go in, but I mean, trailer, yeah, of course, and come watch our videos. We're providing spoiler.
Don't watch the launch trailer. It's already too
no,
late.
don't watch the launch trailer. I'm glad I didn't do that. I mean,
okay. So with that out of the way, thanks everyone for being in the chat. Thanks everyone for donating. Sorry we don't answer the if the game was split in 3x, how would you rank them? We already kind of talked about how, especially the later sort of parts, are like subjective. I think some people will like them, some people won't, and that will make for some interesting discussions. I do think it will be interesting, maybe next week, to do a spoiler cast, or the week after, so after more people have played it. We will probably look at the trophies, and then when it's like at 30% or something, we might do it. I think that would be like a good sign. I think a lot of people will finish it this weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
And I get why. Like, you want to be spoiler free as fast as possible. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for all the questions. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, check out my review if you haven't already. Completely spoiler free. It's like 12 minutes long, where I talk about the game more in depth, show you the gameplay and all that good stuff. So thanks for that. I hope you had a good one, and we will speak to you soon.